During a media conference hosted by the International Decade for People of African Descent Assembly-Guyana, Idpada-G, Chairman Vincent Alexander, in reflecting on the first decade, noted that the Assembly has consistently worked to empower people of African descent and advocate for systemic changes at the level of the state. Alexander emphasized that much of the institutional and legal progress required for such empowerment hinges on government's commitment to implementing and enforcing needed changes.
And we have seen the stern resistance of the state to accepting the need for and putting in place programs and projects for the realization. But Idpada-G continue to work with and for the people of African descent.
Alexander reiterated that during the upcoming review, Idpada-G says it will present further recommendations to the United Nations to address the plethora of human rights issues affecting Guyanese. These recommendations will outline actions the government should undertake to improve the current state of affairs.
The review of the situation on human rights in Guyana, the periodic review, will take place in February of this year at the United Nations at its Geneva Human Rights Office. And we will be active participants in that review.
When questioned about claims by the Vice President that Idpada-G was withholding funds from organizations, Alexander clarified that while the government has been distributing grants to various groups, these grants should not be seen as a substitute for the state's broader responsibilities. He encouraged organizations to accept the grants as a means to enhance its work.
Those grants in no way reflect what is intended to be undertaken by the state in terms of transformation of our institutional and legal arrangements.
Alexander highlighted that the declaration of the second decade calls for active participation from the state. He emphasized that the government has an obligation to create a comprehensive plan to address the needs of people of African descent during this new decade.
The fact that there is a second decade is also a response by the United Nations to the need for governments and for civil society and the society at large to continue to be responsive where they have been, and to be responsive where they have not been to the needs of the people of African descent.
Idpada-G has pledged to intensify its fight against discrimination, marginalization, and oppression of African descent as the United Nations launches the second decade for people of African descent 2025 to 2034. The first decade concluded last December. The new decade's theme, People of African Descent, Recognition, Justice, and Development, which reflects the ongoing global challenges faced by African descendants. Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP Nightly News.